So for my next main topic, I'm going to be talking about different types of drugs in sport. So I'm going to be starting off with types of drugs taken in sport, where I've taken some examples. For example, diuretics are used to make an athlete lose weight. They can be used to mask or hide another performance-enhancing drug that someone like an athlete may be taking. Athletes who may use this are jockeys in horse racing, so they become lighter, which allows a horse to run faster so they can finish a race quicker. Or boxers, so they're lighter on their feet when dodging punches. Side effects of this is dehydration, nausea, headaches, heart and kidney failure. My next one is anabolic steroids, which allow athletes to train harder for longer as they increase protein synthesis, so this develops muscle mass quicker, but this can cause liver damage, skin problems, mood swings, raising aggression levels and premature baldness. It can also provide advantages for athletes though, when they're taking part in sports requiring power, such as sprinters. For example, sprinter Tyson Gay was banned from competing in 2013 after being tested positive for anabolic steroids. My next one is stimulants. These increase levels of aggression, alertness and competitiveness, heart rate and therefore oxygen delivery. Side effects of this is insomnia, anxiety, aggression and heart rate irregularities. Athletes who take this look to have an increased aggression, for example in rugby match, as it makes them more passionate about what they're doing, and an increased alertness also helps for aiding long distance events such as triathlons. However, heart rate irregularities could be dangerous in these events. My next one is beta blockers, which reduce performance anxiety levels, allow them to stay in control, reduce muscle tremors and shaking. However, there are side effects of these, which include having a slower heart rate, which decreases oxygen delivery, so there's an increased chance of fainting or dizziness as not enough oxygen is getting around your body. This is bad for athletes doing endurance events such as the 800 metres or matches on the pitch such as football, which does require a lot of cardiovascular endurance. Also, it lowers blood pressure, which does reduce oxygen again. This drug can also lead to having sleep disturbances, which increases tiredness, making athletes less able to do endurance sports if they need to. Furthermore, athletes who may use beta blockers are people who need lots of precision. For example, participants competing in archery, because they need to try and hit the highest point target. So my next part about drugs is to do with the pros and cons of taking drugs in sport. So the first one is about boosting an athlete's performance. In a competitive sense, this would increase the likelihood of somebody taking performance-enhancing drugs, because athletes are very caught up in their drive to win. And if they aren't succeeding, then they may want to speed up their process of training, so they can become a better athlete or sports player faster. For example, in football, Edgar Davis was found to be taking a performance-enhancing drug and was banned from playing for 4 months. He took a type of anabolic steroid called nandrolone, which would have allowed him to build up more muscle, making his performance in the game better, as his muscles are bigger and stronger, so he wouldn't have tired as quickly. My next point is about if drugs were made legal, then everybody would have the same chance in an event. So maybe if drugs became legal, then everyone will have the same chance to be the best they can be. This would be seen as a positive thing, because it will represent teams, countries and players as being the best, which could increase their fame, money and support with sponsors that they get. If everyone could have the opportunity to take them, then nobody would be left behind. So taking drugs wouldn't be called cheating, as everybody would have the opportunity to get up to the same level. Meaning they can reach any stage they want to at any time, and participants could therefore match their competitors and have a fairer race or match, increasing their success or chances of winning. And then my last point on the pros is that money used to test for drugs could help make facilities better. By this I mean that by letting drugs be legal, people wouldn't be continuously being tested for them in major games, such as before football matches in the Premier League. So then this money could be used to improve facilities for more clubs for juniors, which would help increase problems such as gender inequality, and it would just reduce the amount of people that couldn't find a club, and it would help people get into clubs more because there's more funding behind it. Furthermore, there are drugs such as plasma expanders and secretion inhibitors that do hide drugs, so there's almost not much point in testing for them because there is an opportunity for people to mask what they're taking. So in some point of view, they may as well become legal because money could be seen to be wasted on testing drugs that you may not even find because they're being hidden. However, alongside the pros, there's always some cons. So for this one, my first one, I'm just going to talk about serious health effects. There are disadvantages of taking drugs because they can cause serious health effects, which is a huge negative for participants that are taking certain drugs because it can lead to a reduced amount of time in their career. Because some drugs do cause heart attacks and strokes, which do increase the risk of them having to stop their sport due to their health or sometimes even death. For example, the growth hormone increases muscle weakness, which would definitely affect a footballer's career because they would be more susceptible to injury. For example, having a torn hamstring, which would impact the amount of time they get on the pitch. Furthermore, other drugs such as peptide hormones do increase the thickness of an athlete's blood, and this would be a risk for them, especially athletes and players who take part in endurance activities such as football games and matches, which does involve 2 45-minute periods of intense cardiovascular work. It would put them at risk because thicker blood means they may experience more blood clots, and as blood builds up in the arteries, it supplies oxygen to the muscles, but obviously it can't fulfill this need fully, so it does increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes, which can come so suddenly for a player that they may experience it, and it could be fatal, ending their career. I think another big con to taking drugs is the altered appearance of athletes. For example, steroids can be used to increase muscle mass and strength, but these can alter an athlete's appearance, which may make it socially difficult for them to join their chosen sport. For example, if a woman is taking steroids and they have a very big muscle mass, it may look wrong for them to take part in a female football match, and there may be some abuse about that, which may put them off taking part in sport in the future. Taking steroids can also increase a woman's development of body hair and also increases their muscles, making them look more masculine because drugs such as steroids affect the peaks of hormones. So this is a negative of taking drugs, because if females within a game such as football do develop changes such as excessive body hair, acne or baldness, it would be a very obvious change which could make officials question why they have developed such a noticeable difference in such a short amount of time. These changes do mean there is a risk to players being banned from their team or even the sport in all, as they don't want to be linked with players who are taking drugs who will give a bad reputation to the sport and to certain individuals, such as the managers. My last point is that there is emotional side effects too. Performance enhancing drugs can influence a player's emotional behaviour on and off the pitch. Some performance enhancing drugs such as narcotic analgesics can cause emotional effects within the body. For example, they can give the sense of being invincible, which could cause problems because the participant could become angrier if the game isn't going their way. For example, if they're losing, as they feel too good and full of confidence, which will make them become cocky and more righteous because they think that their game is going the way they want it to, even though it's not. They can also cause conditions such as anxiety and depression, as these drugs can become addictive. Anxiety and depression are negative effects for players within a team or even individually, because it can bring the morale of the team down if people aren't like usually themselves, which may cause losses within a match, bringing a bad reputation for the team as their status in the league would go down. So that was my contemporary issues of sport assignment. Thank you.